Without further ado, let me get to what the patrons have sent in. I got my FM voice there for no reason at all. Let me get to what the patrons have sent in. Here we go. Here's Patron Mark. Patron Mark sent this in. Here's what Patron Mark sent in. Check this out. Green Party of Alaska. All right. I'm done doing that. That's let me just do it for the headline. You ready? The Green Party of Alaska rejects national candidate, nominates Jesse Ventura. Whoa. All right, so the Green Party of Alaska, Mark sent this in. The Green Party of Alaska rejects the national candidate and nominates Jesse Ventura. Of course, I've heard about this already. I talked about this with Graham Elwood on his show yesterday. And I think this is really cool that this is happening. So in Alaska, they declare Jesse Ventura as their nominee. So I want to read some of these quotes from the chair of the party, because this is what struck me. So here's the first paragraph here. In defiance of the National Green Party, the Green Party of Alaska has drafted Jesse Ventura and Cynthia McKinney as their presidential and vice presidential nominees, granting them ballot access in the state. A final poll was held by the party to choose what candidate will receive their nomination. Jesse Ventura won with 50% of the vote. Now, here's what Robert Shields, chair of the Green Party of Alaska, had this to say regarding the decision. Now, I like what this guy has to say, and we're going to talk about why. Ventura was an easy choice for independent Alaskans, and he is clearly the most competent candidate. I like this sentence a lot. And you guys have heard me talk about this before, so it should come as no surprise that I like this sentence a lot. But here we go. Drafting is a proven way to make radical changes to the system. Now, the article goes on to go on that point. Drawing parallels to the draft Eisenhower movement of 1952, the Green Party of Alaska outlined the following in their official statement. Only once before in U.S. history has an ordinary citizen been lifted up by the people and elevated to the office of President of the United States. Over the next decade, the United States of America can emerge as leaders of the fossil-free world and end poverty globally. To get us there, we need strong leadership at all levels, and only a trained soldier working side by side with a seasoned advocate can hope to lead the campaign of waging peace in a world at war. Now, so here's the thing, and I'll make my bias known right away. I like Jesse Ventura. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. I would certainly vote for him over Biden or Trump. And I was hoping he was going to get the Green Party nominee. I was hoping that either he was my first choice, my second choice was Dario Hunter. I was hoping one of them was going to get the nomination. But putting that aside and just like putting aside my personal preferences and looking at it from the principle, this is how it should be done. This is totally how it should be done. And I really applaud the guy in Alaska for making that point where it's like drafting is an effective way to make electoral politics better. And I believe that to be true. I am to the point you shouldn't be able to declare yourself a candidate. I know that's a radical sentiment, but think about it. We call it a nominee, for crying out loud. It's called a nominee. We should make it that way from start to finish. Why should you be able to declare yourself a candidate? Somebody should recruit you. Somebody should draft you. That's why you can't declare yourself a nominee or a candidate for an award. Do you ever notice that? You can't do that. Could you imagine if you could? Award shows would be even shittier than they are now, if that's possible. They'd be even worse. Can you imagine what the Grammys would be like? Some guy, hey, I'm nominated. You could just buy a nomination. Hey, I'm up for Best Rock Album because my dad owns Coca-Cola. Here's my album, The Trust Fund Blues, and my hit single, I've Never Had a Real Problem. That'd be the world. That'd be award shows. You can't do that, though. Someone has to nominate you. It should be the same way in politics. Someone should have to draft you for the job. And I know there needs to be some parameters because otherwise you would just have Wall Street, just recruiting all their people. But guess what, folks? We have that now. We have that now. At least this system would strip all the subtleties away. You would know. There'd be no ambiguity. They'd be like, this is a candidate who was recruited by Goldman Sachs. This candidate was recruited by my neighbor, Jim. Jim's really passionate about this person. Thinks they'd make a great leader. And I heard Jim out and I agree with him. It'd be way better. And by the way, I did not come up with this idea. The Greeks did. This was one of their early ideas. When they were figuring out the idea of democracy, they floated this idea, well, we should recruit our leaders. We should recruit people for office. It should be a civic duty where you're recruited to do it. That should be the way it's done. And, you know, they mention Eisenhower, how it has been done before. And I'll mention this. And again, this is sticking to principle and not my personal preferences. In 2008, there was a movement for Al Gore. I'm not a big fan of Al Gore at all. But I still think in principle, it was cool that there was a movement of people who decided he was the person to meet the moment, especially, you know, he was one of the few people really harping climate change back then. And they thought he was the person for the moment. I didn't agree with them. Al Gore wasn't my first choice in 2008. Dennis Kucinich was. But movements like that shouldn't just be the norm, or shouldn't just be seen as something cool that people are doing something they believe in. It should be seen as mandatory. That's how it should go. And I know that's a huge shift. And some people are thinking, Ron, that's a little bit radical. Here's my question. Well, could it possibly be shittier than what we have now? Think about what we have now, where these people can just buy nominations pretty much. And it's at all levels, by the way. I do say that local politics is a lot better because for the most part it is, but you still see the same thing where it's just these real estate developers, they just buy their way into local politics. In my community of Pasadena, the mayor's only opponent is one of his cronies who's involved in the same industries as him. Who would draft these people under regular circumstances? Nobody. Nobody would. Nobody would draft these people. So why shouldn't we draft our leaders? It'd be way better. And if someone's like, hey, I want to be a politician when I grow up, well, guess what? You better start volunteering now. You better get out in your community now. Because if you want to be a politician, someone needs to recruit you. And there has to be some rules, like you can't just be a blood relative or something, because then otherwise someone would just like have their sibling fill out the paperwork for them. So I get it. There needs to be speculations, there are specifications rather, but I think it'd be a way better system. I think it'd be a way better system if we recruited people for office, and that was the only way it could be done. The only way. That's the way it should be. Would it be perfect? Probably not. Would it solve all of our problems on the electoral level? Absolutely not. There's still so many other things we need. Getting money out of politics, ranked choice voting. We need to get rid of gerrymandering, get rid of the electoral college, get rid of superdelegates, all these other things. It's just one piece of the puzzle. But it'd be so much better if you had to be recruited. You had to be recruited by people in your community or activists or just people who were like, this is our person. We're recruiting this person. We are organizing to recruit this person. And if the person doesn't want the gig, that probably means they're more qualified. And this rule applies to everybody, except for me. It doesn't apply to me. That's the important thing. Do not recruit me. Everyone else, totally, yeah, civic obligation. Not me. I'm not part of it. You can't recruit me. I didn't invent this idea, but I researched it. So can't recruit me. That's the only thing. And in fact, we're going to make this a law. You got to recruit your candidates. It has to be a grassroots organization doing so. Can't be affiliated with a major bank or an industry or anything like that. It has to be a grassroots effort through and through. Other rule, no Ron Placone. You can't recruit Ron Placone. I can recruit other people. I can recruit other people, but I can't be. I am on the like, nope, he can't. He really liked this idea and promoted it a bunch. So we can't recruit him. It'd be a conflict of interest if you recruited me. Be a cop, because I was all about the idea. So if you recruit me, it'd be like, well, maybe Ron was all about that idea because he wanted to be recruited. So conflict of interest. So you can't recruit me. Anyone else? Go for it. But not me. Not me. So so that was really that's really cool to see. Thanks for sharing.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news